So
And we're back.
And we're back. So we're ready to, we're gonna do half of this as a steel trowel finish, half as a broom finish. So this end, we're gonna make it look very similar to a sidewalk, which is the broom finish. You have to wait a little longer to get on it with the steel trowel to smooth it out, but we wanna go ahead and get the broom finish done. You don't want it to set up too much, so then that way you can actually make it a rough surface for grip. So what we did was we divided it in half with our joint tool, which is similar to our edging tool. All we did was we drop it down in, run it back and forth. That gives us our joint as if it was a sidewalk. And now what I want to do is I've got a broom end here. Usually it'll be on again on a handle, usually pretty good size street broom that they'll use, and that's all it is. It's nothing special. And we're just going to take it, we're going to drag it across. Again, we'll just now clean up all our edges. And that's it for a broom finish. Now it looks like it looked exactly as say a sidewalk would. Normally, if you're going to be pouring a sidewalk, a long stretch of it, they will go ahead and put these joints in because it's a control joint in case the concrete decides to crack. But this is a broom finish, and it is completed much sooner than if you did a steel trowel finish.
So the one thing I want to add, a lot of time they don't necessarily put a joint or what we call a control joint in the concrete, which is where it's going to allow it to crack at that location, unbeknownst to the people on top looking down on it. But if you don't put a control joint of this type in there, there's recourse, and what they actually will do later is they'll come back and they'll put some saw cuts into it. And on the sidewalks that we have around the new building here, there's all kinds of saw cuts out there that allow for that same type of a control type situation where it forces, if there's going to be a crack, that the crack will be at that location. Interestingly, the gentleman that was out here doing this type of work, I was talking to him several days, and he was recommending that wherever you had the abutment or corner of a building, he would recommend that you put either a control joint or a saw cut, if you will, at that location, because the concrete's going to want to, break at those areas in the structure that it seems to follow or go to the corner of an abutment of some sort.
So we'll come back in a little while. This other half is still too wet to get on with a steel trowel. A indicator is if you walk up to it, and I don't know if you can see that on camera, I still leave a fingerprint when I lightly touch it. An indicator is when you lightly touch it and you don't leave a fingerprint, then you can get on it with a steel trowel. So we have to let this dry just a little bit more, and we'll come back and show you the steel trowel finish.